is Kim Allen. I am a professor at North Carolina State University in the Youth, Family, and Community Sciences program, which is part of the Department of Agricultural and Human Sciences. So it's kind of a mouthful, but in my everyday practice, I have two roles. One is I teach in our graduate program to students who are going to go out and improve the lives of youth and families. And then the other is I get to work with cooperative extension, creating programs for community-based activities for families. So my main area is parenting. So what I'm hoping to happen today is to be able to talk with parents about best practices and some of the research that helps us be the best we can be and helps our kids become the best they can. So one of the foundational things that I think parents need to know is, while there is a myriad of literature that says these are the best practices, the really number one thing has to do with the number of positive interactions that we have with our kids. I think we're pretty good about telling our kids, no, stop, don't. And we're probably also pretty decent, but maybe less intentional about the yes, congratulations, good jobs. And so one of my favorite pieces of research, and I know some of us roll our eyes with parenting research, but I think this is a good one. So there are some researchers in Washington State that look at couple interactions and parent interactions. And so they do a lot of work around what causes healthy relationships. And they do this thing where they put couples in an apartment, a fake apartment that's a love lab, and they watch their interactions. And then through years and years of watching these interactions, they've gotten pretty good at predicting what makes for healthy relationships. In fact, they've gotten so good that they've created this magic ratio. The Gottmans are known for the ratio of 5-to-1. What does that mean? Well, according to their research, when there's conflict, and this could be parenting, this could be couples, this could be even in a work situation, relationship skills, but when there's conflict, it's the number of positive interactions, the ratio of 5-to-1, that makes the difference of whether the couples are going to be happy in the long run. So what does that look like? I'm mad at my partner, and I'm, listening, super ready to state my point of view, which I do, and then maybe I take a turn to listen to his point of view. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but that's a positive in a confrontational interaction. I'm listening. Another example is, maybe we throw in a joke, like to kind of lighten. Okay, this is a heavy topic. Remember that time when X and Y happened? And so you lighten the mood. It could be as simple as a little gesture. I love you, and we'll get through this. So it's all of those little interactions, those everyday interactions during conflict. But then what the Gottmans found out is it's not even just during conflict. It's all the rest of the time. So anytime we're around our children, if we're building that positive relationship, we're finding what they're doing well, we're focusing on what's good in our children's behavior and in their disposition, and we're noting that, then our children are able to celebrate those successes in themselves, and that builds a bond. So that 5-to-1, for every one time they get in trouble, I'm giving them 5 compliments or 5 hugs or 5 positive interactions. So what the Gottmans also found is that to have a healthy relationship is 5 positives to 1 negative. If you have a ratio of 1-to-1, you might make it, you might not in a couple relationship. Your kids might bond with you, they might not. So 1-to-1 is kind of sustainable, but you're certainly not in the healthy realm. However, when they find that the inverse is true, if you have more negatives than positives, then the likelihood of sustainability of a healthy relationship is down. Like couples will split. Parents won't be bonded as tightly with their children. So there's really strong research that 5-to-1 is, or more is optimal. But if you're doing more negatives than positives, then that can really harm the relationship you have with the people you're engaging. So John Gottman and his team in Washington definitely look at what makes for healthy relationships. They talk about the sound house, and there's all these components of a sound house. But he also talks about these 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And he says, if you're seeing these traits in your relationships, then there are certain things that you need to do to combat those. So the 4 horsemen are criticism. Well, that's pretty easy. We all criticize, don't we? But criticism is a way of sort of noticing that we're not following those positives to negatives. The next one is a contempt. So criticism is more common, but in a contempt, what we're doing is we're really not complaining about a behavior, but we're labeling the person that we're complaining about. So it isn't, I don't like that you didn't pick up your dirty socks. It's, you're lazy because you didn't pick up your socks. So we're moving beyond a complaint or criticism into really sort of an assassination, if you will, a sort of a character assassination. So there's criticism, contempt, and then there's defensiveness. And again, this is a pretty common way that we deal with conflict, but when we get defensive, it shuts down lines of communication. And then the fourth one, if we're getting so defensive and then our relationship is really starting to tear down, then it's called stonewalling. Stonewalling is where we just start to disengage. And when couples begin to stonewall, then we know that that's really a time that they're going to have to work on repairing the relationship. So the bad news is the 4 horsemen. The good news is there's some great steps that we can take to repair if we're seeing these. So if there's a criticism, if we'd like to file a complaint with our partner or with our child, what we can do is offer a soft startup. Well, what on earth does that mean? A soft startup is when you sort of have heard of like the sandwich. You start with a compliment, you go in with the criticism, you end with a compliment. A soft startup is sort of like that in that you let them know, hey, I want to talk to you about something that's really important to me. So you're setting the stage with a soft introduction to the criticism. It kind of helps us engage and listen to what our partner has to say. If you're seeing contempt, the really important part is building a culture of appreciation. So if I'm sort of calling my partner lazy and I'm not feeling good about my partner, I'm going to have to start looking and identifying the places where I can be more positive. It's not easy to do. If someone's being mean to you, you kind of want to be mean back. But the crazy exciting thing is if you start being nice, chances are they will start being nice back. One person just has to kind of start. And in the parenting relationship, I put that onus on the adult. I think adults need to start that relationship, and you'll see when you start noticing those positives and noticing building that affection, building that sort of all those wonderful interactions, then the contempt is going to go down. You're going to feel much happier. You're going to feel really excited to be in a relationship with this person. When someone is starting to feel defensive, we need to take ownership. We need to take responsibility of what's going on. So we can own, okay, you're right, I did call you lazy and I apologize for that. I'm not, I was really feeling mad and I'm gonna try to work on that. So that's when we're kind of accepting what we've done wrong and we try to repair that and do better. And then finally, for stonewalling, we do this thing called self-soothing. And I think for many of us, this idea of self-soothing feels like maybe we're not entitled, like there's too much to do. I need to just focus on getting what needs to be done. But if we're not taking time to take care of ourselves, then our cortisol levels are high and we're possibly going to get sick and we're not going to be able to calm ourselves and to have these positive interactions. So, taking time, take a bath, read a book, give yourself 5 minutes to yourself. Those are the kinds of things that we can do to offset those 4 horsemen. And then the final thing that Gottman talks about that I want to address. He talks about so many things, but the final thing I want to address today is this idea of emotion coaching. What does this mean? Well, emotion coaching is kind of a fancy way of saying de-escalation. Gottman tells a story of a time when he used it, and I have a similar story. So I had a neighbor ask me if I could take her daughter to school one day with my daughters. So we were all getting ready to walk to school, and she had ridden her scooter to my house, but her mom had said, don't ride the scooter to school. We'll keep it at the house so that way we wouldn't have to worry about storage. So we were getting ready to go, and we were getting ready to walk, and she wanted to take her scooter. And I said, oh, we're not going to ride the scooter today. We're going to just walk to school. And she started to get sad. I was like, sweetheart, we're running behind. Let's just go ahead and go. It's going to be okay. And she started to get more sad. And so I'm like, all right, I know parenting. Let me think. What can I do? So I tried to redirect her. That's a positive discipline strategy. So I redirected her, and I said, well, we can't take the scooter today, but instead you can carry this ball. And she didn't want the ball. That made her more upset. I don't want the ball. I want the scooter, and I want my mom. So she's like wanting her mom. She wants the scooter. We're running late. It's time to go. The other girls have started walking, so I'm like trying to juggle as all parents try to juggle. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna need to get firm. I need to be kind, but I also need to be firm. So I did Eliza, I'm sorry, but we need to just start walking. It's time to go. And then she went into total meltdown, super sad. And at that point, I thought, emotion coaching. So I got down to her level and I said, Eliza Grace, you're feeling really sad today, aren't you? I'm so sad, I miss my mom. I wish my mom was here. And I'm like, oh, if your mom was here, you would feel so much better. I would feel so much better if my mom was here, and I wish I could give your mom. I wish she was here. I am so sorry that you're feeling sad. It's okay, I think I'm gonna be late. Let's go to school. So it was that de-escalation through validation of feelings. So that's what Gottman talks about, that we need to be present, be calm, be kind. Not easy to do when you're running late for school, and you have to sometimes be intentional. Because it wasn't my child, I probably worked a little harder. I think we're all guilty of like, come on, let's go. But that calming down, validating the feelings, really gave her the peace that she needed to move forward. We walked to school, and that's an example of how to utilize emotion coaching. So when we're thinking about how do we help our kids kind of do the best with the stressors they have. Now we know school is stressful. There's a lot of anxiety on the rise, depression's on the rise. Our kids are really having to deal with a lot of things, and so that sometimes leads to unhealthy coping. We know that sometimes kids engage in risky behaviors, including opioid use. Now, I'm not saying the positive 5-to-1 ratio is going to keep our children off of opioids, but I am 100% certain that the more we can be doing as parents to build those relationships, to open those doors of communication, and to really make sure our children know we are behind them, we love them, we're going to be there for them, that's one place where they can shed that anxiety, they can shed that depression, they can move forward in life knowing there's that one adult in their lives that has their back, that's gonna take care of them. And one of the best ways to build that relationship is to focus on those positive interactions. I mean, think back to your very favorite teacher in school. What did that teacher bring to the table? My guess is a lot of positivity. They weren't reprimanding you or yelling at you or belittling you or tearing you down. They were building you up. And it's our job as parents, even when they make us mad, to do our best to try to stay calm and focus on the positive and do our very best to be the safe place for our children. Kind and firm, so we don't want to not let them have boundaries are super important. So kind and firm in a way that we're building them up with the structure and the boundaries they need to be successful.